All right, welcome to our live instructional webinars designed to support the Memory Book Online Yearbook program. Today we will be focusing on relations or functions that relate to building activity or candid pages. And specifically, we will be reviewing page bleeds and margins, the toolbar, design functions. We'll go over templates and custom templates and themes. So this webinar is approximately going to take 45 minutes. It can go up to an hour, just depending on questions and that, or if we get really going into something. If you do have something else, other prior engagements, have another meeting, or need to get to something else, totally understand if you have to leave early. We are, like, again, we're recording this, and we'll definitely, by tomorrow, we'll get a link out to you, so that way you can catch up on anything you might have missed. Okay, so the first thing, when we're going over our pages, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. And the first thing that we're going to cover when we're talking about our pages, we're going to talk about bleeds and margins. And first thing we'll do is kind of explain the concept of bleed. So what bleed means in terms of printing when you're doing your pages is bleed is full color that, in terms of printing, bleed is full color that extends beyond the edge of the page. And essentially why that is important is when your book goes to be trimmed, as long as you have a background extending out to the bleed area, then when that book goes to get trimmed, that'll just ensure you don't have any white edging or, unsightly little white edging around the edges of your pages. Now, when looking at your page, you'll see there's this outer gray area, and this is the bleed area. And when you have photos or shapes pressed up into this area, you'll see where you go to full color, and then it kind of fades out here real quick. Now, this faded area also runs in with this orangish reddish line here. This is our estimated trim line. Now, in printing, we say it's our estimated trim line just because once it gets into actual production here, there could be up to 1/8 variance or difference of where that cut is actually made. And factors that play into this are, how, the trimmer, how well it's operating. Can even a factor thrown in is the trimmer operator, or sometimes both together. So just some factors. So it's not a precise image, it is an estimated trim line, but a very, very small 1/8 up to 1/8 difference there. This blue line that we see here, this is our inside page margins. This is where you want to keep all of your important photos and text within. Now, when you're placing photos in here, the spot, the area between the trim and the margin here, if you go to place a photo here, you'll notice that it'll either, one, go all the way out to the bleed, or if two, you try to move it back down, it'll drop all the way back into the margins. Sometimes we kind of refer to that area, or the place in between there, as no man's land. It's just the program, it's just a function in the program that it'll either force you to go out or it'll force you to go down into the margins. You will not be allowed to finally rest anything between there. Now, kind of circling back on bleed and why you want that full color. Again, when it goes to get trimmed, you won't have the white edging. Now, some other things that you'll look at if you are building candid activity pages, and especially collage pages, a lot of times you'll see collage pages, images thrown all over, and you do have images that are pressed out all the way to the bleed. Images that you put out either or that you have into the bleed or you're wanting to bleed, the spot that you put into the bleed is, you'll want to ensure it's not anything important of the photo. It's either empty space down below or space that, it doesn't mind if that gets trimmed. background. You know, if you're on certain outside shots, maybe there's a lot of sky, or maybe there's a lot of yard or grass that you want to cut out of that photo. So something like this photo here, really good. It's good to put on this side because there's a lot of just kind of empty space, and when we're not gonna, nothing's really affected here by this. Just get a little piece of shoulder. The main focus, these students right here, are within the blue margin line, so they're it's safe. They're, you know, anything that's within the blue margin line we consider safe and not at risk of being trimmed. Now this photo will also work if you bleed it. You know, something similar will work if you bleed it on the inside. This part right here is just going to fall into the binding. So that's okay. You know, they're both, their faces and or everything are still here. This photo will work well down below. You know, it just gets a lot of, you know, dead space that's there. Where a photo like this, or if you have some, will where it will not work out really well is with this particular one, because this kiddo is all the way, I mean, there's no room above their head. It is just right there. So if we photo like this, if we put it up here, then we lose all this. We lose a good part of the top part of their head. But with that 1/8 inch of a variance, and I'm going to drag down a guide here, because you can drag on guides from your rulers. I'll just you can bring over vertical. So if there is an 1/8 variance, you know, if it falls more on the inside side, well, you'd be kind of taking a little bit more off there. So when building collage pages, if, you know, you're bringing them on, just kind of see what works best. You know, you really ideally, you know, don't put kiddos' heads up to where they will be trimmed. You know, and just look for areas, you know, this good side, look for areas of the photo that, you know, the overall importance of the photo, you know, is not going to be trimmed or anything, you know, lost. So, so that's just bleeds and margins, full color, and also just kind of making you aware of what to kind of bleed out to the edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, and just gonna put those guides back. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, and I'm gonna zoom in, actually not on the page, I'm gonna zoom in on my browser just a little bit. And we're going to go just to overview the area, just to show you what you have available here. So on the top of your toolbar, you start off with the File, Edit, View, Arrange menus. Now these are your main menus. The buttons that are off across the top of the rest of the gray are actually basically they're quick selections to items that are in the main menu. So under File, we have where we can just regular save our page. But we also have that with this little disk icon here. We have Save as Template. So if you have taken one of our templates and have modified it or edited it in any kind of way, made it your own, save it as a template, and then it'll be under your My Templates, to where you can use what you made and toss it on to however many pages you need to use it on. There are practice pages, so you can save as practice page or create a new practice page. These practice pages are not anything that'll show up amongst your main page ladder. It's just that it's a practice page where you can go, you know, try out new features. You know, if you want to bring stuff on, try different formatting to see how it works. That's ideally what those are great. We have seen instances where students have made fully built practice pages because they didn't want to put anything on the real pages yet. They just wanted to play, and they built up something nice. You can then take these practice pages, because they kind of save as templates, and drag and drop them onto a page to make it a live page. Under Edit, we have our Undo and Redo, and we still have those quick selections here in the top gray bar as well. We also have our Cut, Copy, Paste, and Delete options. So if you need to copy any certain photos or text boxes and then paste them in different spots. Cut is going to be really good to where if you cut an image from one spread, you can jump to another page spread and then come back to edit and do paste and then paste it on. Also under here, one big thing that'll you'll see here is the change background menu. Now what this is, this will bring you up your change background menu to where, you know, if you wanted to apply just a solid color background, we could do that. And also this is how you would get to some of our theme art. We're going to circle back on this menu here in a little bit, but just wanted to kind of bring that up and kind of show you this for a moment. Also under edit, for text options, we have find and replace and spelling or spell check there. One thing about the spell check will check just the page or page spread that you're currently on. It doesn't run a full check throughout the whole, you know, all of your pages. So when you're getting closer to like the complete and review steps, you know, later down the road, as you start that review process, it's really good to kind of go through and run that spell check on each and every spread. One thing about that spell check is it'll catch, it'll correct misspelled words and that, but it's not as robust as like Microsoft spell check, where it's going to catch like grammar, you know, wrongly used grammar or something like that, or certain words. So, I mean, it won't, and it's not going to catch correctly spelled words in the wrong usage. So, I mean, if it's like there, or there, you know, THERE, THEY apostrophe RE, or THEIR, it's not going to account for wrong usage. It's only really looking for misspellings. So I just wanted to point that out there. So even after running spell check, you might put another, you know, later when you're reviewing the book, put another set of eyes on it just in case, you know, you catch anything like that. Under view, this is where we can hide our rulers or page margins. We can hide our grid lines if we want. Now, when it comes to the grid lines on the page, if you want to easily toggle them on and off, down here in the bottom right, there's this little two button module here, and it's the bottom one here, this little hash. If you just click on it, it'll turn on and turn off the margins. I mean the grid lines, sorry. So hide guides, lock guides, and those are the guides that I pulled down from the rulers. So I can clear those. We have zooming options, zoom in, zoom out, fit to window. So fit to window here. Now these zoom options are also in the top toolbar here. You have a percentage drop down where you can just choose a certain percentage. You can also just come over here and use the plus or minus. And down the furthest under view, you'll see the options of facing and single page. So this will allow you to go into facing, you know, keep it as a spread or a single page. Now, one thing I'll point out here, when is it best to either work in spreads or single pages? If you're the only one working on the book, I would keep it as facing pages as you're going through. Now, if you are an advisor that has a yearbook group that is working on this, you know, ideally it is best to have one student assigned to a whole spread. But there might be times where you get down to some of those smaller events where, you know, one student will need you'll have one student working on the left, one student working on the right. If you find yourself in that position where you have two students assigned to the same spread, have both of those students switch to a single page view. And that way, as they're working on it, they won't create save errors, because because you can't have two logins working on the same spread at the same time. So just if you do find yourself in that, again, go under View, have both students or both volunteers or whoever's working on those switch it to single page view, and then that way they won't, neither one, if you save on one side, it's not going to affect the other side's changes because you just have that one view. Now under Arrange, we have our lock and unlock, and I'm going to toss a few shapes on the page here real quick. And I'm just giving them some. Okay. So under Arrange, we have our lock and unlock. So if we have something selected, we can lock all. Locking option can also be found over here in this bar. So we've got a little lock drop down where we can lock something in place. Let's go highlight these three, go back to Arrange, because also under Arrange, we have our group and ungroup. So if we wanted to group those together, is one of that. Now we have those same options where we can ungroup them. So if we needed to break something apart, highlight those back. And also under Arrange, we have Align horizontally, Align vertically. And what I'm going to do here, okay, do edit. I'll show you the copy, edit, paste. Keyboard shortcuts for copy and paste work on your pages too. So if you're familiar with Control C for copy, Control V for as in Victor for paste, then yeah, that works well here. Move that. I'll move that one way over. Okay, so I'm going to highlight my thing. So we have basically under here we have Align horizontally. It's where we have left, center, and right. Now this is going to be alignment options for columns. What I have highlighted right now is a row, so I'd actually come here to align vertically, and we can either align the top, middle, or bottom. Now these same options, if I come out of the menu here, if I highlight these again, these same alignment options are in this drop down that's right here that looks like it has the 3 stacked piece of paper. So we'll click that drop down and we'll see, here's our columns stuff here right here. And here's our tops, line top, middle, or bottom. So I'm going to unpin this because you can keep these up and move these around. So I'm going to, just for example, I'm going to align the tops here. I'll highlight these three and I'll go under the column options. I'll do align center. So just wanted to show you that we have the alignment options in there to kind of help kind of straighten up some rows or line things up in that. Also under here, let's see, we've got other things we've got in here. I don't have a photo. I'm going to just drag and drop a photo because you can actually just build your pages by drag and drop photos on. Okay, so then we have our flip and rotate stuff, so we can, also rotating pictures on a page. Whenever you have a photo box selected or any element, they'll have a line shooting off the top with another actual little handle, and you'll just grab that. You just click and grab and just rotate that to, however it looks best to you. Okay, so we've just wrapped going through, all the basics on this top toolbar here. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to shrink my browser back down. Okay, so what we'll look at now, just kind of go down through the tabs, and we'll kind of quickly pass over the pages, because the pages, this is how you're going to access the other your other pages within your book. You can quickly come here. So this is much like the page ladder, just broken down. So if I click on a page here, just instantly take me to that other page. I'm going to put that back to facing here. Okay, so under designs, now under designs, this is where we're going to have all of our templates. It'll first start off with the custom. Now, custom is anything that you have edited or changed and saved as your own. So that's where, in a lot of the stuff that you recreate or change up and save, they'll show up under My Templates. What we're going to be focusing on today are templates that are under the Page Surfer section. All of the templates that are under Page Surfer are full, they're full page pre-made templates. They're great for candid and activity pages. As we're looking through the categories, the first one we have is candids. Candids houses a lot of the more pretty basic templates. Some just may have a heading, maybe a top banner, but they are mostly photo boxes all throughout here. So let me just kind of grab a more basic one that I might see and toss it over. So here's one that's just kind of more, it's just photo boxes that have in this border you have around it, just has a small stroke to it. Bring this one over just to show you. So this one has a background included. You can change, the text is down here. So I'm going to go to images here real quick. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do one other thing here real quick. Now, talk about making your own templates. Some things that you can do once you get a template on here. He's like, I really like this template, but maybe I just want these boxes right here, and I want to toss a heading or something up here. So what you would do in that case, you could just delete. You could highlight that, delete that out, and from here, a couple of different ways you can go with this. So I'm going to skip a couple tabs down. I'm going to skip past the Art tab, and I'm going to go right down to the Text tab. Now the Text tab, when you first look at this, it'll have different styles that are here to where when you drag one of these styles over to your page, it is adding a text box. And it's adding, no matter which one of these styles that you grab, it's adding a text box. Now it's going to start in the font style and size that it is. So if I bring over body copy, it's this font. This is Foundation Roman 12 point. If I bring over this headline style, Foundation Sans 24. And I'm going to bring a shape over here too. So I am going to go to Art, and I'm going to go to Shapes. And another thing I'll bring over under Image Frames. Image Frames is where you can bring over other photo boxes. Now, when looking at your elements, I'm going to go ahead and select the shape. Each time you select an element on your page, this toolbar will show up just below the rulers. This toolbar we've been kind of seeing off and on. This is called the contextual toolbar. Now, depending on what element you have on the page selected, it'll change its options for you to give you options working with that element. So a shape selected, I have the options for, color. I can change its color. And I can here, there's stroke. Stroke puts a simple border around the element. I can even change the size. So the higher the point, the thicker that stroke will be. So that's 8's pretty thick, or 2 is kind of thin. And the same goes on with, if I have text selected, text will have those options where I can change it. Now, one thing about these text boxes I brought over, these styles, is like I said, they start as that. So if you bring something over, I'm then going to go back to this box and I can change it to another font that I have in my font collection. Now, as you're working on your pages, something that you may come across, and you're going to see this with text boxes, is a red X in a text box. So if you see a red X in a text box, all this is telling you is that not all the text, or it's just telling you the text inside, not all of it's showing, or the font is too big for the box. So if you get this, there's a couple different things you can do. Depending on the spacing that you have, you might have to decrease the font size. But if you have the spacing to make it larger or do that, all you have to do here is actually just kind of just play with the adjustment, play with the size there. So once you have enough room and all of it's showing, when you click somewhere else on the page, that red X will go away. All right, so moving these, what we can do is, when you're clearing off, like if you want to make your own template. So on this, I'm going to put this on the edge. So, I could do my own headline or something like that. Maybe I want to add another photo here or two. Okay, so that's one way. You could just bring in some other shapes, kind of make it your own that way. Also on squares and stuff like that, if I go under formatting, the formatting drop down, you can round their corners. I'll get into some of those in just a little bit, so I'm going to undo that. Ooh, I have to go back a lot here. There we go. Okay. Now another thing I'll show you here, if you don't, in addition to little headlines or like that, I'm going to go back under designs, and from the drop down, let's take a look at click and go. Click and go templates they're not full page templates, but they are smaller groupings. They're little cluster templates on stuff. So those are really good add-ins on if you're taking spots out. You can then, let's say I can go to headline. So looking throughout these, there's different headline styles they can choose from. Other than adding a text box. So if you saw a headline or style that you like, bring that over. So then you kind of have a nice, kind of a cool heading there to go along. Now, one thing about the click and go templates, when we bring these over, that was kind of neat too. Now, when these come over, you'll notice that they all have little dashed lines around them. So the click and go templates are coming over grouped. Now, before you can actually click and edit this type, to make it your headline, what you'll need to do is with the click and go selected, come up here to the ungroup button, and then you're able to come through and, just make your heading, whatever you need that to be there, and edit. Or if, let's say with this, I can make that, extend it out more just to give it, so that was a text box. So that's some things you can do there. Just kind of just still edit it and kind of further it. Now, one thing you can do from here is you can highlight all that back and then group it back together if you want. But let's say that for this example, like I've taken one of the templates, I've got this the way, I want several other candid pages to look like this. So I want to save it as my own. All you have to do here is go up to the File menu and do Save as Template. You get a little prompt here. We're going to enter a name for our template, and I'm just going to say, my, you don't have to say mine, but you could do, candid page 1. If you did a few different styles, so candid page 1 or that. Down below, you get to pick, do you want just the right side? Do you want just the left side or both pages? And that's going to depend on the type of template that you build there. You can even save them singly too. Sometimes when we've seen people going through with collage pages or activity, they'll save a left and a right and a both. That way, depending on how their plan is going, that way I can toss in one or the other. So I'm going to do left on this one because I just want just this side. And I hit save. Now, once you have saved one of your templates, these will show up. If I go over to designs, open that back up, go to my drop down. And this is going to be under custom and then my templates. So here's our template here. So I'm going to save. And let's see. Okay, I'll just go to another page. I was like, I need this here. So it's dragging and dropping. You want to retain existing content in the new template. Oftentimes when you see this, go ahead and click no. That'll overwrite what's there and it'll drop in your template brand new. All right, so from here, so we've got a template in play. And let's add some images to it. So if we have images uploaded there into our image library, you'll come to the Images tab here in the Designer, and here's where you can access all your categories there. I'm just going to pick a few here. Now, when you're bringing your images over, a couple indicators that you will see. So if a photo box, you bring something over, photo box highlights green, that means that that image has high enough resolution or it's large enough to fill that spot. So if I let go, the image then fills into that photo box. Now, if I bring an image over and it's red, it goes red. That means that that image it's a small image. It has low resolution. Its print size is not large enough to fill that book or that box. Because our program is not going to allow you to enlarge an image beyond its actual print size. And that's just to keep it from being blurred, distorted, or just the possibility of it not looking the way that you want it to look in the yearbook. Now, on these images that do not work, if you still drop one, the program adds it in its own photo box, and it's on top of the other one. So this is now just on here. Now, if you go to go to stretch it, now I'm grabbing these handles and pulling out, but I'm not able to go any further with it. So if you get something and it hits that max size, that's when you'll get the message down at the bottom. Image has reached, let's see, what does that say again? Image has reached maximum size required to maintain print quality. So in the event that this happens, you can try to move that, see if that works in another spot in the book, or possibly replacing it with another photo altogether. All right, so okay, that'll fit. I'm just going to toss some photos in here real quick. All right. So I got some pictures in here. Now, some things going through here, what we can do is I'm going to ungroup this, is let's take a look at both, a couple different things. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's go back to backgrounds, and we're also going to show theme art in this. I'm actually going to clear everything off of this side so we can see. I'm going to go back up under our edit menu, bring up our change background. Okay. So when looking at backgrounds to fill a page, first I'd come and start under the Art tab. Now under the Art tab, there is the background category here. And now this just houses a lot of kind of the generic backgrounds that are in here in the program. At the very top, it also has, these are autograph pages that are here. I'll bring one over, some autographs. Now, backgrounds that are in this folder, as you bring them over, all you have to do to apply these is drag and drop these to a page and they automatically fill. Now, when you select it, now, being that it works this way now I can't select this and remove it, but I can drop another background over top of it to replace it. If I want to remove it completely, that is where I would need to go to the Change Background menu, select Right Page, and then I can remove it. Now on the left side here, let's say that for a page like that, maybe I just wanted a solid color background. I didn't want to use one of these. We could go to Background Color, and if we just picked a color from here, it'll apply that. So you can easily change colors that way. There we go. Now, another thing, I'm going to toss one, I'm going to try to find something here. Another area where the Change Background tool comes really into play is with, I would say, busy backgrounds and that. Because if you bring in, some of our backgrounds that we have are just really robust in color. I mean, if they're full, and sometimes, some they could, depending on what the page is, they could take away from what you're having people, really trying to see. So I'm just going to remove it from this side. So on this side, on something like this, this is a really robust, really colorful, really busy. So what we can do is something like this is back on the Change Background menu. I'm going to come down here to the Tint. Actually, I'm going to select left page. I'm going to click on the Tint tool. And the more I push that slider to the right, the lighter my background gets. So right here, stuff's kind of looking kind of hard to see. But if I tint that background just a little bit, it makes a pretty good difference. Basically what helping lighten the background does is it brings focus back to the foreground, to where then it makes your pictures pop a little bit better. It makes, who's ever looking at your book, it'll be easier on their eyes actually to focus and pick in on the photos, compared to where if that was just really colorful, it kind of blends stuff in this area. So if we back that off a little bit, brings the focus back to your photos and not so much them kind of worrying about how busy the background is. Now, another area besides these folders here, now these are just the generic backgrounds. Other backgrounds you can find in the program, I'm going to go to Clip Art, and I'm going to go click the drop down. So I'm going to close this up here because under Clip Art there's 4 main spots. There's by category, it has a lot of general clip art under that, and then we have by cover. Now under by cover, this has under by cover is going to have folders of theme art that go along with our memory book covers. So if you, just for example, if you went with the argon cover, if you come over here, here's the folder for argon, and here is all the theme art that goes along with that cover. But you'll notice, like, if you bring a background over from here, when you drag and drop it onto the page, it goes small. And it doesn't apply like it did out of that other folder. That's just because those in the other program, they're just, that folder is specifically programmed to do that. Any of the other images, you could come onto a page and stretch this out. But ideally, that's not what you want you to do. That's just because sometimes you might miss getting it like right to an edge, or stretching it might have effects to where maybe it doesn't look that great after you stretch it out that way, or if it doesn't hit. Instead of stretching it out, what you'll want to do is, actually, we're coming back to the change background. And we're going to go to here where it says image. We're going to choose image. And this is going to give us a navigation window to where we can then navigate to that clip art. So I'm going to go under clip art. I'm going to go back under cover. I'm going to go back into our argon. And this time I'm going to select the image here. One quick, before I hit select, one thing I'll show you is when you bring up the select background navigator here, images that, if I scroll down here, okay, this right here, if you see an image that has a red box around it, typically tells you that that's not a background image, or it wasn't made for a background. Typically you would see that around pieces like these two. These are just clip art, but it really has to do with the size of the file. So these must be some pretty big pieces of clip art here. So I'm going to go back up to, I'm going to select my background, hit select. Oh, and it applied it to this page. So again, another perfect example of, I could kind of tint this a little to bring some foreground there. That's how we'll do. We'll just use the change menu to select and add that in. Now, this is also really good coming under this choose image, as opposed to like getting some of our own theme art. You'd also be able to access your activity images. In case let's say that you either from an image, a royalty-free image site, found a background image that was out there that you wanted to use in the book, or let's say that you have some really nice kind of portrait ratio, kind of like pictures of the school or different things, or maybe like a shot down a long hallway, or maybe your school has like a nice courtyard outside that has like full nice trees, or like a little benches area or something. What are some people take really highlight really nice areas of their school, upload those to the program, add them as backgrounds, and kind of lighten them, and it put a real good school community feel to the book there. But so this change background is how you're going to get that, how you're going to get your images or the other theme art here. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and save. And all right, so some things to kind of finish up on before we kind of open up for questions is just some of the things that we're working on. Is once you get your, I'm going to go ahead and save now. Okay, so let's work on some formatting. So here, if we have a shape selected, let's change that up. Maybe we want to change that to a different color. Ooh, there's some other little spots there. I'll just go ahead and remove those. And I'm going to change that font style. So just depending on what you have selected, you're able to change those. So even on this box, I actually have two options. I can change the fill or stroke. Just the stroke on that. Comes to photos. Right off the bat, under the magic wand, the format, like I say, you can round corners. There is transparency. So you can do some things that's kind of makes your photo see-through. So here, let me select one. And so if you overlapped and did some neat things, do some overlapping. If you find that you have an image that is kind of a little dark, you want to try to lighten it, there's the tint. Help lighten your photo just a little bit. If you want to, here, let me select some of these images. Under format and effects, you will also have drop shadow or glow. So drop shadow, puts a little bit of shadow around a couple of the edges here, make it look like there's some depth. Glow does, basically it's a shadow that goes all the way around the image. Blur that. But yeah, it's here on a page like this, drop shadow would probably play better than glow. So it gives everything nice little depth there. Another thing you can do, so I kind of want to bring him down a little bit within your photos. So how do we crop adjust photos once they're in the photo frames? A couple different ways. So with his image selected, I could go up here and hit the crop button. So that's one way. And when you do that, the whole area around the photo kind of dims out and just puts the focus here. So at this point, you can actually grab the photo and bring it down within the frame. So that way you can see more. Now, you can also activate the crop by double clicking on the photo. So if I double click on it, I can adjust it. If I grab these little yellow handles, if the image is large enough, this is where, if the image is large enough, this is where you kind of pull it, stretch it a little bit to where then you can kind of crop it to where fill in most of your photo box there. Now, another thing that we have here is if you look at this little circle icon here, this is Snap Edit. This will allow you to do different little filters and things to your photos. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to bring this up. So under your filters that we first have here, you can make your image black and white, sepia toned, which kind of gives it that old Western, the old style look there. There is an overlay, which just throws a color overlay onto the photo, or you can colorize it. Now, one thing about the colorize is you can kind of play with it. Certain other colors, the darker the photo, the better that kind of, or the darker the color, the better that kind of plays, like dark greens, dark. But if you get into the lighter stuff, let me pick a real kind of pale yellow here. It basically washes it out. So just keep in mind when you're picking colors to colorize, or if you use this, typically the darker they are, the better it kind of plays. Now, another way you can do this is I'm going to uncheck colorize. I'm going to actually work with two other ones. First thing I can do is I can actually make it black and white. And then if I come to overlay, here's where I can give a nice softer kind of overlay here. And so now it's kind of, the dark ones don't work well this way. But with this overlay, using the black and white and overlay, I think it kind of does a little bit better than colorize. And you're able to, nothing's looking washed out. You're able to see everybody's here still. So that's something kind of neat. So it's kind of dark. I can lighten that up. But definitely, if you're playing around with different overlays or doing some fun stuff, I just like doing the black and white and overlay option together as opposed to just colorized by itself. Now, after you have your photo the way that you want it, come down and click Save. Now, what the program will do is here on your page, you'll see that your edited photo is in here. Now, what this will also do is anytime you apply those filters and that to your images, the program makes a copy of it. So if I look back over here to my images there, here's the original, here's the copy. So it's just a way to, doesn't touch the original in case you need it for anything else or need to go back. But really nice there. Okay, so that's the text, kind of the same. You can change your colors. You've got your bold, italics, underline if it has those options. We have our alignment to where it falls in the box. We also placement within the box. So do you want it the center? Do you want the top? So that kind of agrees if you want something right on the edge or right on the bottom of the box. And same here. Not too much more. You can do apply drop shadow to your text. Give your text a little bit of depth as well. I'm going to hit save. Now, one thing through here as I was going through, the last thing I'll probably touch on, make sure to save and save often as you're going through. Under the History tab here, I just want to point this out. The History tab is an advisor-only tab here. So what the History tab is the program keeps track of each saved point, each saved change for each and every page. So every time you click the Save button, it basically creates a store point that you can go back to. So the more that you save, the more restore points you'll have for that page. Now, where that really comes into handy is earlier with this template, we got all the base stuff in. We had just this part of the template. We tossed in our photos, and we'll even say that maybe we had text here. So if you have all your base stuff there, go ahead and save and make that restore point. Because what this history is really good for is, if you're getting to building around and let's say, the formatting I did was okay, I want to change it, but I want to really kind of start over where I was a couple of days ago. That's where your history is going to get, because if sometimes, you'll get into this and you're like, it got so far, I don't know how to backtrack. To give it just, I wanted to play with a few other formatting to see how that looked too. So as long as you're making those saves, you can come back into your older versions and it looks like I can just restore it back to there. So I probably should have saved that prior to this. But that's my last restore point from 8 minutes ago. So neat little tool to have. Really definitely, make sure you save often. That way, in case you ever need to revert back to a previous point in time, you'll have it right there in the History tab. Okay. Well, after going over, how to build an activity page, going through, our options here, make good use of your templates when building candid pages, going over bleeds and margins. Make sure, really the only thing you want extending out to the edge would be your background. But if you do a collage page that has photos out to the edge, make sure photos you stick out along the edges have some just empty space that you don't mind being trimmed off. Or if you have them up at the top, make sure there's room up at the top that make sure that nothing important is getting trimmed off, like a teacher or student's part of their head or anything like that. So with that said, I am going to take everybody off mute for a moment here. And if you have any questions, feel free. If I can keep this open for another few minutes. If, like I said, if you guys have stuff to do or need to bail, totally understand. So here I'm going to unmute, and I'm going to open this up to you for a little bit. If you have any questions, I'm here. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or anything like that. So, yeah, if everybody is okay, if we don't have any other questions, I'd say we'll go ahead and call it an afternoon. So I just want to say thank you very much, everybody, for joining me this afternoon. It's really appreciate y'all joining. We're glad that we can teach you the program, and that way it gets you kind of a foot in the door, also gives you a little bit of a jump ahead, also kind of ease off, back off some of that tension or anxiety about getting into it. Oh, real quick, right before I was about to sign off, did have someone say quick question. So let me, are we able to move pages around? Yes. I'll show that real quick here. Save my changes. So moving pages, just real quick, we're going to come under Create, and we're going to go to Page Mover. Now, by default, this area moves 2 page spreads around. So I'm just going to pick 2 that are right here. So I'm going to take 18 and 19, and let's just say I want that on the other side of 20 and 21. As I start to move my page, I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to start dragging this. Now, as you see that I'm dragging this around, I have a red bar that's going with it. And that red bar, so if 18 and 19, if I want it at after 20 and 21, I actually want to move my red bar here. I'm going to let go. It's going to ask if I'm certain to insert after page, and I just hit yes. And what it'll do is insert there, and it'll then push everything forward. Now, if you need to do single pages, over here on the left, switch to single page view. And now I'm going to swap 2021. So if I just bring that one over, same, this time it's a blue bar. I'll let it go. Do I want to insert? And yeah. So yeah, just if you need to move pages around, it's dragging and dropping those spreads around or single pages, but you're going to go to Create and Page Mover to get there. Now that's just one little tidbit. This is an advisor-only area, so if you're staff on the account, staff won't be able to see this spot. So, but all right. So, no, awesome. Glad everyone was able to join. Really, seriously, thank everyone for joining me this afternoon. So hopefully these demonstrations, related to the creation of activity pages may help when it comes time to build your book. Using the templates already in the program and building your own templates should save you quite a bit of time and give your book continuity. So this was the last one in this series of webinars for this, and we so normally we say, feel free to join us next week, but really we'll see you next session. So we're going to kick off another round late November, December. We're going to go back over the same topics. So if there's any that you missed before, when the invite goes out to sign up for those, be sure to get signed up if you want to get onto the other topics. A recording will go out of this tomorrow, hopefully. So hopefully we should have all bases covered. So thank you again, everybody. Have a great afternoon. We will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.